All right, let's just dive right in. If you're an educator, you know that AI has basically crash landed in higher ed, and it has left a lot of us feeling like we're scrambling. I mean, our job now is to get students ready for a world that is changing under our very feet. So, how in the world do we do that? Well, today we're going to break down a framework called the human loop. It's designed to help us not just survive this new AI age, but to actually reinvent our teaching because of it. So here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at the big challenge that AI has thrown our way. Then, we'll introduce the human loop as a way forward. We'll dive into its four main pillars, starting with what I think is the most important, emotional intelligence. Then, we'll get into AI competency, worth, and creation. And finally, we'll tie it all together to see how this approach can seriously elevate what we do as educators. Okay, so let's set the scene here. We've got these incredibly powerful AI tools showing up everywhere, and it's created this really uncertain reality for everybody in education. You know, the old rule books, they just don't seem to apply anymore, and students and faculty are kind of left trying to find their footing on constantly shifting ground.
I mean, come on, this scenario probably feels incredibly familiar, right? A student gets caught in that murky, gray area between what feels like cheating and what feels like learning, and they're looking to you to make sense of it all. This just perfectly captures the tension of this moment. It's not really about policies or punishments anymore. It's about a human being feeling totally lost with a new piece of technology. And that, of course, leads to the million-dollar question, what is the right response? Just pointing to the academic integrity policy, it doesn't really get to the heart of the student's confusion or their anxiety, does it? We need a completely new way of thinking about this. Now this right here is how we start to reframe the whole problem. The real danger isn't the technology. It's never just the technology. It's the mindless, uncritical use of it. So our goal shouldn't be to try and ban AI, good luck with that, but to teach our students how to use it thoughtfully, ethically, and with a really strong dose of human judgment. And that brings us to the solution laid out in our source material, this framework called the human loop. It's a proactive approach, not a reactive one. It's designed to empower everyone, both educators and students, by putting human development smack dab in the center of this new AI-powered world. So here's the key takeaway. The human loop is not about playing defense against AI. It's about playing offense. The whole idea is that while AI can churn out content and analyze data like nobody's business, it can't replicate those uniquely human skills, the cognitive, the relational, the ethical stuff that universities are here to build. So AI becomes a catalyst, pushing us to double down on what makes us human. So the framework itself is built on these four pillars that give us a really clear path forward. It all kicks off with emotional intelligence, or EQ. From that foundation, we build practical AI competency. Then we figure out how to demonstrate AI worth in the real world. And finally, we put it all together by creating something called an AI-enabled minimum viable product, or MVP. So let's start at the beginning, with the absolute bedrock of this entire framework, emotional intelligence. The argument here is that before we even start talking about the tech, we have to talk about how we and our students feel about using it. Yeah, forget everything you've heard about EQ being a soft skill. In the age of AI, it is arguably the most critical, hard skill we can possibly teach. It's the stabilizer. It's what protects a student's sense of self, their motivation, their trust in the whole learning process, all things that are at risk if we just throw AI at them without any emotional care. And the framework gives us this really practical tool called the EQ triangle. So level 1 is all about creating psychological safety. Maybe you start a class just by saying, hey, I know using these new tools can feel weird, maybe even a little scary. At level 2, we as educators model this by sharing our own journey. Here's where I got super frustrated with AI this week. And at level 3, we share what we've learned with our colleagues, building a community around the human side of all this change. And this just illustrates perfectly why EQ is so vital. Just look at the difference. Sure, AI can crank out content and speed up tasks. It can even fake emotion. But it can't read the silent panic in a student's eyes. It can't help rebuild their confidence after a failure. It can't provide that real, genuine empathy that is the most valuable currency we have in education. That's our job. All right, so once that EQ foundation is solid, we can start building on top of it with the next 3 pillars. And these are all about developing the practical, real-world skills and mindsets that students are absolutely going to need for the future of work. First up, AI competency. And let's be super clear here. This is not about turning every student into a data scientist. It's about AI literacy.
And the quickest way to get there is just by messing around with it. Generate something, question it, refine it, and do it again. The key insight here is that real skill doesn't come when things are easy. It grows from friction, from that struggle of pushing a tool, seeing where it breaks, and learning how to work with its flaws.
Okay, next is AI worth. Because, it's not enough to just have the skills. Students have to know how to make them count, how to translate them into getting a job. This means building a visible story about their career. We can actually encourage them to share their learning process on places like LinkedIn. The trick is to share the progress, not just a perfect final product. That act of learning out loud is what builds a bridge straight from the classroom to the job market.
And the final pillar is creation. This is where it gets really fun. This is where students go from just being users of AI to being creators with AI. By building a small, functional, minimum viable product, like a simple chatbot or an automated workflow, they learn so much. They learn how to iterate, how to solve problems, how to think about design. An MVP, it's not about the finished product. It's a learning engine that gives them tangible proof of what they can do.
So when you put all of these pieces together, you've got the EQ, the competency, the worth, and the creation, you get to the real point of the human loop. It's about fundamentally elevating what education is and what it can be in this new world.
And this is the end game, right here. We want to shape graduates who have a healthy, productive relationship with AI. They're not scared of it, but they're not blindly dependent on it either. They see it for what it is, a powerful tool they can work with as thoughtful, reflective, and ethical human beings.
I want to end on this quote from the source material because it just says it all. This is the heart of it. We are not in a defensive crouch trying to protect the old ways from some new, scary thing. We are on a launch pad. We have an opportunity to use AI to make education more meaningful, more relevant, and more deeply human than it has ever been before. So, the last question is really for you. As you find your own way through this new landscape, in your own classrooms, at your own institutions, the challenge and the opportunity are one and the same. How will you keep the human in the loop?